Hello, everyone. Today is April 30th, 2025. This is Kubernetes Data Protection Working Group meeting. Okay, so let's see. Um, so first, let's get status for CBT. Carl, do you have an update on this?
Yeah, I think I pasted it in the Slack chat. So we had a quick meeting this morning. So there are four items over there. So there's the blog PR is still in progress. There's feedback still coming. The CSI host path PR, right, is also in progress. It needs a little bit more feedback. We noticed that the repo needs to be updated to a newer version of Golang because there's some dependabot problems which surface that. And we need to re-enable the CVE checker, which we had disabled because of the gRPC based health probe. So we need to replace that with an HTTP health probe, which will work with will not hang up on the checking. So that's the status right now.
Okay, sounds good.
On the blog part, I just wanted to clarify one discussion. I think there was a comment about including CRD in the blog. I just wanted to confirm if
Include
just
CRD in the
referencing.
blog. Okay, let's see. Wait, this one? This is okay. Let's see.
Yeah,
What is the uh oh, is this comment from someone from doc team?
yeah.
Okay, so are you including it or you are just you are not sure? What is, I'm sorry, what is your
Yeah. I wanted to confirm just
this
if
is the okay.
reference to.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
he's asking is if this is document. So basically if you have another uh yeah, so I think you mentioned, right? So it's here. We also have it. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
We do here.
We have
It's
CRD on
not,
the external snapshot
So
metadata, the first link.
I
The,
think he's probably we actually have a API. Okay, where is that? I think we have a yeah, is
it's
it here? I think it would be good to have something like this. Yeah,
I see.
yeah. Um, I can find there was a PR submitted by somebody. I forgot who
Mhm.
submitted this one. Yeah, this is actually nice to. This is a document, right? If you just look at the .go, that's not a considered doc. I think that's probably what he was. I'm guessing that's what he's saying. He didn't really reply, right?
Okay.
What do you
yeah.
want? But
No, I
oh,
was
yeah,
referencing to the CRD we have published on the external snapshot metadata for the first link in the reply. But yeah, I wasn't clear. It wasn't clear where exactly he's suggesting to publish it. Yeah, if you look at the first link, we have published the CRD there.
yeah, but this
Yeah.
is not a. I think he. Okay, I don't know if he talking about this type of like the more
I
detailed
mean,
like a
that is a
detailed doc.
document. It's got description fields for each thing.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, it's a little bit okay. I don't know what he's mean. So documentation usually like this is like I mean the one that I was just showing that's like a document API doc, but maybe this is fine, right? So maybe ask him if this is okay. Does he have any other concerns other than uh
Uh, no, other
oh
things I
this
have
is
resolved
when did he
already.
this was you okay. Just maybe just ask him just ask him if this is if this first one is okay, right?
Okay.
Yeah, ask him if
Yeah.
the first one is okay. I don't know if he's really asking for the formal API reference doc. Maybe not. Just
Okay.
asking him if this is good. If if he has other requirements, then he can clarify. I don't know what he's asking. Oh, sorry, this one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly
Okay.
what he's asking for. Um, yeah, so it's not really. Yeah, I think it's
I'll.
not really undocumented. It's not really undocumented. Right? I don't think it's like required to have like API reference doc.
Mhm.
So yeah, you can just ask him. But I'm thinking that we should actually have that, right? We have this for one snapshot. We can have the same thing for this later. But I don't think that should be blocking this
Mhm.
blog though. Just ask him if this is good.
Yeah.
And
I'll think.
I think I added comments yesterday. Did you add? Did you?
Yeah, I've made
Okay.
the changes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I'll take a look and then. Yeah, I think those are the two main comments I have. I think you addressed one already, so this is the other one. Okay. And this is what? This is, we still have some time, right? What is the date? It's May, right? May 13th? Is that May 13th? There's a publication date. Have you changed that? The publication date?
So I think only date they informed was about making the blog ready. I mean,
I think it's
ready for review.
did they tell you the publication date? I saw it somewhere. It says I think it's May 13th or something. Did anyone put it here?
I didn't see
Don't
one.
see anything. Okay, usually you should put it. They should tell you like then you just update that. But he didn't say anything, so maybe he's he's just waiting.
Mhm.
He didn't really ask you. We follow specific. Okay, he didn't really ask you to change this one, so maybe that's okay. I guess that's not critical. They can sometimes they merge it first and then maybe they change it later when they
Mhm.
know. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think then.
Cool. I'll follow up with him.
Okay.
Probably
Yeah.
announce that.
Just asking
Okay.
that. Yeah. Okay. So this one I submitted the PR. Yeah. We will. I think Ben. I think you are good with the PR already, but there are some comments from.
The CSI spec one?
Yeah, I think because
Yeah.
I think
I'm all ready to merge it, but
James
James,
has some comments, right? Okay, let's see.
we usually, well, he asked about seeing the cap,
I
but
gave him the
beyond
link,
that,
but I don't know if that's good enough for him. I gave him the link. So
I don't know. I don't know if he's going to read it and come back with concerns because it's such an uncontroversial change. Like I was
yeah.
going to merge it without even waiting for him,
Oh,
but then he
okay.
showed up. So I figure give him a chance to do the review he wants to do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So okay, maybe I will ping him. I don't know if you see this one. Let's say okay. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to say you need to clarify this and that. I don't know. Okay,
I
so
mean, it's so uncontroversial. Yeah, we should just say, hey, can you, if you have an objection, please raise it. Otherwise, this one should just move on. We don't need a ton of review, I don't think, on a getter.
yeah. Do you want to ping him or you want because I already give him this. He's asking for this one. I already put it here. I don't know what else you want to
I
do.
mean,
You want to just go
yeah,
and merge it, or
no,
you want to do it
not since
sometime? Okay.
not since he's asked. So I can put a note in there saying like, I think it's uncontroversial.
Okay.
Let's just move along. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And also okay. So oops, sorry. What is that? That's not work. All right. So that's the okay. Good. I just submitted. Okay. Yeah, so in the CAP now we also propose the beta change, the API change as well. So yeah, so we have both now. I think this one I think we already said this is I think we talked about this one already, right? It's optional. So if they implement this new get snapshot, then we should be okay. So if say if, oops. Okay. So if driver implement if driver implements get snapshot or list snapshots, this will be automatic. Otherwise, they need to add owner ref manually. Okay. So that's this one. Mailing list. Oh yeah, okay. It looks like I still have not sent it, but I already mentioned here that there is a mailing list change. Okay. Hey, Rafael.
Hello.
This one. You're talking about the volume replication, right? That's what you meant you were talking about, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I have a working progress talk that I'd like to discuss. I think I did late a bit early. I want to add a little bit more to it and then go back. We can actually look at this some time ago. What is this message? Okay, yeah, sure. So we can come back and talk about this one. So we briefly talked about this one some time ago. So we'll come back to this one. So one thing in this proposal though, Ben, I know that we went over this one some time ago. This one actually actually kind of assume that you already have the local PVC, remote PVC all created for you, right? So this is like one way of setting it up. But this actually does not handle the case where you don't have anything. You create what you want this and to automatically also create the remote volume on the remote side. So this one, I was just looking at this one. Sorry, it seems to be a lot of background noise.
Yeah, I think that's from Raphael.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I think, so I like to support both. So that's why I thought I want to think about this again and come back. This kind of assume you already have somebody else created this for you on both sides, and then you just try to power them, right?
Well,
This is one way, but
this is one of the huge challenges of doing something like replication in a Kubernetes is I don't think you can support both ways. We have to have an opinion about how people are supposed to consume this. Otherwise, the feature becomes unusable. Like I acknowledge that there's some storage systems that prefer you to like create a source volume and then a destination volume and then link them together. And there are other storage systems that want you to create a source volume and then tell you where you want it to replicate to, and it creates the destination volume. Like there is no way that I think that we can provide a usable interface at the Kubernetes layer that accommodates both of those ways of operating.
Yeah, I think I like
transparently.
to think about that, and then rather than just to say this is the only way we can do. Otherwise, I think we're missing a very big use case. Then
Well, you can come up with one interface, and then some implementations might have to emulate it, by doing some.
Okay, yeah, even that I think I'd like to have a way to say, hey, if how do you support this other case, right? I'd like to. Otherwise, I just feel this is kind of very narrow approach.
Well, if you're too flexible, it will become useless to the end user, and then no one will consume it, right? It'll just be like, here's some APIs that we that are, directly exposing some vendor's implementation to you, and you have to know how your vendor works and then code to that. And all portability is gone if you do it that way. I
So
think
yeah, so that's why actually I actually do not want to talk about this yet today. As Raphael said.
No,
But
I don't.
I actually want to
Let's.
think about this one first and then come back. And then I'd like to I
But
do not
I,
want
I,
to just kind of limit us to just like one way so early.
I wanted to first of all ask the team, the people here in the meeting, what they think about this capability, if it should be in CSI or not, if it makes sense investing in this. That was my first question. And then if we decide if we decide that it is a worthwhile capability, then Xing, I would like to work with you on the interface. But I agree, we don't have to talk about that today, right? But I agree with Ben. I would like to start with something instead of trying to solve all the possible use cases with the interface.
why I'll just restate my stance clearly, which is I think every vendor should expose their functionality in a proprietary way to their users so that their functionality can be consumed in the optimal way for that particular platform. But as the data protection working group representing the Kubernetes community, we have a responsibility to provide like a common unified way of consuming this feature that was usable by the community, and then evangelize to the storage vendors like, hey, this is how replication works in Kubernetes. You guys have to make your stuff work with this. Otherwise, we're not adding any value as a working group, right? Our job is to represent the users of Kubernetes.
I agree with you, Ben. But
Yeah.
I also do not want to kind of lock us in too early. That's all what I'm saying.
No, I mean, we should explore all the options, but I'm saying we
Yeah.
have to end up on one unified way of doing this. And then for the storage vendors, that's a hard thing to do. Like we have to tell them, you guys need to emulate it or figure out a way to make it work. But we can't just like be flexible. Flexibility is poison for API, for usability of APIs and portability.
Well, I agree and disagree. I think we need some flexibility, right? That's why we actually have parameters in the storage class, right? That's why in CSI actually there's just like I think there's just like one RPC that is really required. Everything else is optional. So I just that anyway. I do not want to just keep arguing this point, right? But I want to consider how to support this other case as well, because we actually looked at this one already last time. But before we say, hey, this is the interface, I want to also look at how to solve this other case. That's all I'm trying to say. That's why actually I think this one is actually not ready to be presented yet, although we actually already looked at this one last time. This is a work in progress draft anyway, so.
But so can I work with you, Xing, maybe without presenting it, but can we do a couple of iterations on this?
Sure,
if it's okay.
I have already shared this one with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did. Do you mind doing it again, and then I'll start.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, the important thing was to understand if everybody agrees this is a good feature to have. I don't know if you guys know me. I work for Red Hat. We're doing a lot of implementation of virtualization, KubeVirt, and this use case is now very, very common. And we are seeing exactly what Ben just said. Like every storage vendor has its own way of extending CSI to declare that a volume should be replicated. And all these proprietary extensions make it really hard to imagine anything, to imagine a storage agnostic approach to DR. Yeah, that's a problem that CSI could help solving. And sorry for the background. I have a power outage at home, so I'm in a coffee shop.
Hey Ben, there was someone from NetApp actually came here some time ago. I think there was a there was actually a deck that they proposed, but that they presented. But I think that one is just not accessible anymore. I forgot who.
Mhm.
Okay, maybe I need to check
Yeah, I was gonna say there's been some staff changes at NetApp.
So you're not sure if
And
this person is still working there?
very likely not, if it's the person I'm
Okay,
thinking
maybe
of.
that's why
Um,
okay. That's okay.
so yeah, if we can dig up the slide deck again, we should probably make like a copy of it,
Well,
with permission, of
I should
course.
have done that earlier, right? But now
Yeah.
it's
I
not
am
possible
working
anymore.
for
That's
that.
why I can't
I am
make a copy.
working for that app now.
Oh, you work for oh, great fun. Okay, so let me show you which is the one that I was maybe you can see if you actually have access to that one. I don't know if that's his personal copy or
But
But
again, I am new here, so
okay.
I have I have contacts with most of the storage vendors, or at least those that have sun arrays for which this feature would make sense. And I have their approaches to DR. So if you want the latest thing, like I can share what they're doing.
Yeah, sure.
Just tell me which vendors.
There is a yeah, there is something from okay, I actually forgot where that okay, in one of the thing they actually presented. Yeah, anyway.
you might looking
But
for
it's probably fine. I found it online, so maybe we're not really missing too much information. I think it's called mirror relationship. Right. Yeah.
So you're talking about app mirror relationship?
Mirror relationship. That's something
No,
that
the lower level trident mirror
Oh,
relationship
trident
stuff.
mirror
yeah,
relationship.
yeah. I think
CMR.
yeah, so I don't know if that doc is it means probably fine because I checked I can actually find
I can
okay.
write it. I'm very sure that is that trident mirror relationship should be published. It's been there for a while already, so there should be an there should be a public document somewhere.
Yeah, and there is a Azure founder, like there's a doc talking about how this is created.
If I can make an observation, since we're still talking about this, right? These vendors they do volume replication in ways that are very different one from another, and understanding their ways deeply, I'm not sure it's helpful when the problem that we're trying to solve is to design a storage agnostic API.
You
I
are
think we
talking.
would I think we
Yes.
could end up tainting this API. I think we really have to abstract and start with a very high level generic API. And then maybe get some vendor feedback that maybe some vendor would come up and say, I will never be able to make my product work that way, right? Or perhaps, something like that. But like Dell, NetApp, Hitachi, they do very, very different things and they call things in different ways. They have different expectation. I don't think that studying what they do in depth is actually useful. I had to do it for other reason, and I don't think it's useful for designing an API.
I think it's still useful because if you want to come up with something common, you also want to see what other people are doing. Of course, you can't really, just to copy exactly what one vendor is doing because they're, as you said, everyone's doing differently, right? But I think there's still value just in seeing what other people have been doing, just to learn from that.
It's certainly good
It's
to
not like,
know.
as I'm saying, it's not like required for me to, I was just checking this one the other day and I found that link is no longer there. It's not like absolutely we have to find that. So yeah,
No,
fine.
the trident.
Mhm.
You know, if you look at it differently, you're gonna say that underneath they might be doing the same. The only difference is whether they expose the API, expose API to have enough, have a common information in it or not, right? When you do like, so let's just say incremental backup. It logically that you only do backup the delta, right? So that is but the detail is each company may have a little bit detail different, like whether one of them using fixed block, the other one using very, etc. Right? See, there is a lot of common thing among the different vendor, but for NetApp specific, we do not expose some of these API out. If you look into Trident mirror relationship, underneath it, eventually it will also do this similar, um, uh, differential snapshot or incremental snapshot. It's just
So
logical.
actually you brought up an interesting point. That's actually something I was trying to ask. So I know that you said you will take snapshot, right? But that actually is not really directly expressed in this API, right? So it's like you're doing this underneath, right? In your API itself, in your mirror relationship API itself, you don't really specify how you are going to, or how frequently you're going to take those snapshots, right? Or it's like, or is that kind of hidden in the storage class?
I do not look at the
Okay.
mirror relationship, what available in the publics right now. So I cannot say much, but underneath it, it's gonna always start with a snapshot and then migrating or back up the delta. That's a basic
Okay. Yeah,
principle.
it's probably
The
kind of
detail of what exactly being exposed to API, what etc., it can be different from company, but I don't think it would be much different from company to company unless they do something very crazy or something. That is my personal opinion. Okay.
yeah. I think they probably don't have that like explicitly specified anywhere in
Yeah,
the.
it is, and the minimum value is 5 minutes for NetApp. You can there is a field where you can specify the frequency of the snapshots.
Right, but
The
it's
vendor.
kind of like they do this on the array itself. They don't really expose those snapshots in Kubernetes directly, right?
I believe you're
Yeah,
right.
that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
thought.
but there's still snapshots,
Yeah.
and
If
other
you're
vendors.
doing async replication, it's going to be snapshot based. There are synchronous flavors of replication where snapshots are much less prominent and are only used in a resync type of situation. But yeah, I mean, like the Kubernetes API like has to abstract all that, and it has to be like, okay, I'm replicating from here to here. Maybe it's asynchronous, maybe it's synchronous, maybe snapshots are involved, maybe they're not. Like that all has to be hidden, right? Because you don't want to be too prescriptive.
Right. I guess it's probably, I don't know, I was just wondering, does it make sense to expose those volume snapshots in Kubernetes, or you guys don't think this is really something that should be exposed? This should be just a kind of
implementation detail. It's an implementation detail of the
yeah,
array.
but this is I guess my question is, does it make sense to actually have those, when you create those snapshots, does it make sense actually even to create Kubernetes API object for those, or should those just be kind of hidden? I guess that was my.
So we talked about this way back when we were initially designing snapshots. I argued against
but that's a snapshot.
making these
I'm
kinds of
talking about.
snapshots visible. No. What I'm saying is the underlying storage system very often does create snapshots for things like replication and for other purposes. And if we were to reflect them all into Kubernetes, you would have fantastic amounts of API churn because these snapshots are getting created and deleted every 5 minutes. In some cases, if you have thousands of volumes with replication, I mean, you could imagine just
in some cases those actually will be retained, right?
So in some cases, but I mean, if you attempt to make every one show up in the Kubernetes API, you're talking about creating and deleting tens of thousands of APIs or tens of thousands of objects.
But I mean,
constantly.
they could be, if it deleted, then definitely it's not needed. But in some cases, those snapshots are actually there.
No, I'm saying
use that
they live for 5 minutes, right? You create
no,
and then 5 minutes later you delete it, and then you create a new one.
I guess that's really depending on your use case, right? So I do have a use case actually. I keep them for a long time. They will be there. and then you can just say, hey, I want to go back to this snapshot. So
Yeah.
I was just thinking out loud, right? Maybe that's not.
This was one of the use cases for list snapshots, which was to say, okay, it could be that there are snapshots that the storage system knows about that Kubernetes doesn't know about because they're getting created automatically by some schedule down at the bottom. List snapshots is supposed to be the way that you can go ask, hey, what's actually there? And the storage system can say, oh, I actually have 800 snapshots for this volume that I haven't told you about. But if you're replicating on a 5-minute schedule, like you don't want those snapshots to automatically show up in Kubernetes and then get deleted 5 minutes later, which is what the storage system would be doing by default.
So again,
right?
yeah, I guess this is again maybe going back to maybe some storage system will automatically delete them, but some actually will keep some of those. So I guess your opinion is we shouldn't really keep them. I mean, we shouldn't create Kubernetes objects because otherwise kind of
it should be possible. It should be possible to turn them into Kubernetes objects, but I wouldn't make that the default.
You do not want them to be automatically.
Yeah, because it doesn't scale. It doesn't scale, right? You got a few thousand volumes replicating every 5 minutes. Like just you're creating and deleting snapshots all day, every day, and you're just hammering the Kube API server with snapshot creations and deletions for no value. The vast majority of snapshots that get created by these automatic schedules, like nobody ever looks at, right? So they need to exist somewhere, but you don't necessarily want to have them just filling up your etcd server in the Kube API. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was just thinking about different ways of this. Okay, basically, let's say if someone want to have a way to decide which snapshot to go to, or maybe
if we are designing an API, if we are designing an API to express the desire of replicating a volume, and that underlying storage array does that by doing snapshot, it's their design whether they want the snapshot to be reflected in Kubernetes. I don't see a value in that, but they could do it, right? But we should not prescribe that with our API, because what we are asking really is, please replicate this volume from here to here. We don't care how you do it, right? If we try to care about how you do it, it's gonna just become an unmanageable API, in my opinion. At least our first iteration should be, please replicate the volume from here to here. Maybe some quality of service fields on how the volume should be replicated. Right? Maybe sync versus async is something that we could try to express as an optional, but no more than that. Right?
Yeah.
And then absolutely mandatory is also the other feature, which is volume groups that needs to be replicated consistently. Without those two, you can't really do a DR. But with those two, we don't have to go very in detail, right? Volume group could be just a volume selector in a namespace, maybe, and the volume replication API is just from here to here, where here to here, where here is this cluster, to there we have to express it somehow. I don't know how. We have to think about that, and then we let the storage vendors figure out the rest.
Yeah, so we are like here, right? So when we say replication relationship, this is actually indicate this can be a group. So because we're going to use this for if you just have like one volume, you can use this, and if you have multiples, you can use this. So we are not going to have like two different type of replication constructs, right? So
Okay.
so we just this is something that we kind of discussed, before.
Past.
Yeah. We just use
I pushed heavily for having relationships be the thing that shows up in the API, and for relationships to be able to have multiple sources and multiple destinations to address the group case. But yeah, I mean, that's based on my experience, what I think is most flexible and will apply to most systems. But a relationship sort of implies that you already have your destinations picked out, or something has done that for you. because a relationship has to have a source and destination, or multiple sources and multiple destinations.
Yeah. So if you look at here, right? So you can have I think we have that somewhere. Okay, yeah, right. So you can have pairs, right? So, but this one you can, if you just have like one pair, then that's just like one volume replication. Otherwise, those will be in your group, right? It can be like your consistent replication group. So like this.
Let me analyze. If you share the document, I will analyze it. Replication relationship, I have to say, it's a bit of a confusing word to me, but I can live with that. I'm not sure I can live with the assumption that something already exists on the other side. This is not. Yeah, I'm not sure I can live
Well,
with
the relationship needs to point to something specific. You could imagine a way of causing that to come into existence in an automatic way.
Well, so that's the two way for this one, right, to happen, right? One way is you already have it, then you're just trying to establish the relationship. This is one way. The other one is you create this one, then you expect this remote volume to be created.
But when you say you have to point to something, are we talking? In my mind, that something is another Kubernetes cluster. Are we thinking about something else?
Yeah. This one would be normally will be two Kubernetes clusters. Yeah, you're replicating your application from one cluster to another, right? So those are two. Yeah, so those two different clusters.
I don't know how much of this meeting we want to use in this subject, but I'll just say that in my opinion, the hard part of doing replication is not setting up replication relationships. It's handling all of the failover and failback situations, and having a relationship object where you know like what you're failing over from and what you're failing back to, and all of that is crucial to be able to manage all of those later steps in the life cycle of a replicated volume. Is when you're recovering from something, that's when it gets hard. Creating a relationship is pretty easy, and I like the relationship object because it's very explicit about where you're going from and where you're going to, and it handles more complicated topologies, like if you're replicating to 2 places or 3 places. If you have a chain of places, it becomes very natural to just extend it to say, yeah, these are all the places I'm replicating to. These are all the objects that are managing those relationships. I agree that in terms of initially establishing a replicated volume, you probably don't care what exactly it's called and how exactly it's created, and you could automate that through something. But then after the destination gets created, you really need to know exactly where it is, because that could be your primary tomorrow, and you could be replicating back in the other direction.
So I think, Ben, yeah, of course, before you can even have this, you need to set up, right? When you have set up 2 sites, like 2 clusters, you need to pair them. But I guess it's just for this individual volume, or for this group of volumes, will this be already created on the other side or not? I guess that's the part that I'm also I'm taking a second look, because this, I know last time we looked at this way. This is one way, right? You already have something there, you want to establish them, but otherwise,
I'm not opposed to having a different API object that automates the creation of the stuff. But like once you're in your steady state and a disaster occurs and you need to perform all of the various recovery functions, you're gonna want a relationship object to manage all of that stuff. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree. Like here, right?
I was assuming that information would be found in the status of some API, but we need to figure that out. I agree.
Yeah. So for example, if you like Ben, you were just talking about, right? So when you say failover, of course you have to have those pairs figured out, right? So otherwise you would not know where to failover.
And then when you want to reestablish relationship replication in the reverse direction after you're recovering from some sort of an outage, again, you need to know what's associated with what down to the volume level, so that you can reverse the replication, assuming that's what you want to do.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's just there are some details under the API design, and there are some part of this needs to be tweaked a little bit because but definitely when you feel over if you want to pause or resume and all of that, you need to have this already. This is just like in the very beginning. Do you already have this? I guess that's the thing.
Yeah, and you could have some sort of a replication bootstrapper that just says, "Hey, I have some stuff that needs to be replicated, and I don't really care about the details, so go make it happen." Like that's not hard to do.
Yeah.
And you could just in a generic way, presumably.
Yeah. Okay, so I think yeah, I think that's that. Yeah, I think those are great conversations. I think we can come back, and I just want to just think this beginning part a little bit, because if we are saying if we just already create a spec like this, you kind of meaning all of this are there already, right? So that's one part that I would just trying to figure out. But otherwise, we need to have another. It's like you need to have another structure to say, hey, I want to do this. After those are created, then we create this object. Then that's a little bit too much. I just
my advice is to start from the end and work backwards. Like imagine that you have replicated volumes and something has failed and you're trying to recover from it. What do you want the API to look like at that point? And then work backwards to how you got there.
Yeah, so that would be this one, right? So but this one is in the spec. But I guess we actually also do populate things in spec as well. It's not like it's not like let's say you create something later, it cannot be in the spec. It's not like it definitely has to
be. So, specs are updatable.
Yeah, we could do that too. Yeah, so that was the only thing that I was just when I'm taking another look, I was thinking maybe some of this information has to be added later, not like in very beginning. So, but I think controller.
I was doing some thinking on this also. I think modeling the action is now it's hard in Kubernetes specs because they express a desired state. I think I found it easier to model the volume role, right? So when you have a pair, one is the active, the other is the passive that gets the replication. So you can tag them. This is the active, this is the replicated. So they have a role.
So we have this, right? So like this.
So,
you look at this one, it's primary, right? So
okay.
there's one side.
So that's the thing that needs to change.
The other one is secondary. After you fail over, then they need to just be flipped, right?
Right. So yeah. That should not be in the status. That should be a spec. Right. It's you define what the role is, not the system. Right. Because you have to be able to manipulate the directionality of the replication during a DR scenario. And you also have it, and sometimes the volumes do not replicate, right? When you only have one side because you lost the other one, the volumes are not replicated. It's just one active. So the vendors use very different terminology for this.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge. Yeah.
In the end, we should abstract what the terminology, and in the end, we should come up with our volume status, right? I think there are three statuses basically. There is active replicated, passive replicated, or active not replicated, something like that, right? So we should internally agree on the status, and then this is something that you set, right? That should be a spec thing.
I think.
And then,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, and then you don't need to express an action. You don't need another API to express a failure or failover action. You just change the status, right, in the spec. That was the way I was imagining it when I did the model.
No, but the status, that's like after, right? That's like the actual state. Are you talking about in here? You're talking about here. You basically saying changing it to primary or secondary. That's what you mean, right? Instead of using action. Is that what you mean? you have something here.
Yeah, I would change it.
Okay, yeah. So those are because the reason this is action is because there are multiple. If you look at this one, right? So there are like multiples here. I mean, there are different kind of things, right?
Right.
So
And what I'm saying is, I would not model an action. I would model a volume row, and then let the action be implied by how you change the volume row. That's what I'm saying.
Do we have a mode? Do we have a mode? I think Ben mentioned earlier whether is it like a synchronous or synchronous replicate.
Yeah, so those we do right now. This one does not have all the. That's why this one is still like a draft. This one, yeah. So it can be, it can be, synchronous and all of those, right? So we didn't have all.
I remember Ben just mentioned.
So we are actually thinking. I was thinking if we can hide them under the storage class will be better. But we'll have to see if do we actually need to expose that as at the top level, right? So that's something that so right now a lot of the things are kind of hidden under the storage class just because there's so many different things that we can possibly expose, right? So we need to really decide whether we want to expose all of them or can we hide them, right? So then because each vendor do their own different things, right? So if we expose all of them, I don't know if it's actually beneficial, right? So we can definitely look at those, right? So right now, this one, I'm just hoping that we can make it simple. I mean, not too complicated at this Kubernetes API level, and then there are vendor-specific things that can be under the storage class parameters. But if we have to make them the first class parameter, then we could also do that, right? If it's required. But we'll just have to look at each one of them and see. Okay, so I'm not sure if we just use the volume row would be sufficient, I guess. That was, I think, why we have this, right? So let's say action, right? So there could be many, many actions. So if you are, Raphael, if you are saying we're just using, if you're saying we just use volume row, right? What the row, then it's either your primary or secondary or what? Primary, secondary, or what are the other rows you're thinking?
To my understanding is the rows are primary replicated, so active replicated, passive replicated, or active not replicated.
Active not replicated, okay.
Yeah. So active replicated, active not replicated, or passive replicated. I'm not sure if passive not replicated is an actual real state that can be useful.
If it's active, then okay, I guess maybe we do not need replicated if it's like the primary. Or it could be active. Okay, that's then.
It could active not replicate.
Active. Okay. Do we? Okay. I don't know. Do we need to expose all of those? Active.
Yeah.
Active not replicated. Passive.
So when you in a steady state, when you do volume replication, you have one, and you have a pair. One is active replicated, the other one is passive replicated. Right. One is the one that you can actually write to. The other one, only the storage array can write to by doing the replication. But if you try to
connect are you saying so in your definition, this active not replicated is like the source? Because it's
I think I like the sort and destination better because when you replicate it, you move that up from sort to destination, right? Active, passive, I'm not really sure it's clear.
Okay, so let's change it. But on a steady state, we have a source volume and a destination volume. You can only write it to the source volume, right? The destination volume, if you try to mount it, it's a logical mistake, and I think it's a logical error, and I think the storage array will also stop you from doing it. But because only the storage array can write to that volume. Okay. Then you lose a site. Now, what was the destination or the passive replicated becomes active, or becomes a volume that you can mount and send writes to, right? So now I can write it, but it's not replicated anywhere. Right? Of course, there is nowhere to replicate it. Then you recover the site that you lost. Now you need to set up replication in the other direction. So the volume that was now the active not replicated, using my terminology, becomes active replicated, and it's sending the update to the site that originally was the active site, but now it's the passive site, right? So now that volume has the role of passive replicated, and we are replicating in the other direction. Then we have to redo everything because company wants to always go back to the initial primary being the primary. We have to do another round of changing all of these volume roles, right? The roles of the volume, so we can reestablish the replication in the original direction. So because our API, the Kubernetes API, do not describe an action, but they describe a state. My suggestion is let's find the correct terminology to describe the volume state, or the role that the volume is playing in this mirroring, in this replication, in this mirror relationship. Right?
I think it's more like a state. More like a state.
Yeah. So see the gap there is after a disaster, you may want to replicate back to the original place, or you may want to replicate to a new place if the original place is never coming back. You need a way to direct where you're replicating to, right? So a relationship allows you to say, okay, you were replicating from A to B. A went down, B became your new primary. A is never coming back, so I'm going to start replicating to C. You need a way to say, like, please replicate to C from now on. So it's not just changing the role, it's like giving it a new destination. You need to have a way to do that.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't know about that.
I mean, you got to think about like permanent site failure, right? Like data center gets hit by a meteor, it's gone. Good thing you had a secondary you can fail over to, but now you got to replicate somewhere new because you can't go back to A ever. These are real cases you got to worry about.
Agreed. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah. So my only suggestion was let's model the volume state or volume role in the replication, and then Ben's suggestion is also good, right? We have to be able to change the mappings essentially, or to extend the mappings to something that didn't exist before the disaster.
I think we still need some kind of action to say, because I think if you look at this one, we are saying, hey, here on the remote side, you are saying, if you say fail over, right, then everything will be changed. So it's you still have to have some kind of action, otherwise, just automatically decide.
Having a replication object is the declarative way to do it, because you're declaring an intent for something to happen between the sources and the destinations of that relationship. You can delete the relationship without deleting any data, and then thereby erasing your earlier intent, and then you can create a new relationship expressing your new intent. The system can go execute. A relationship is the most natural declarative way to express how you want data to move between different systems.
I kind of disagree on that definition of the replication relationship CR. I think it's more, from my point of view, it's more like a description of the relationship, and the status would reflect what we are doing with that. For example, right now, if you start with the replication relationship enable, then underneath it, you start to replicate data from one PVC to another. And then when you switch the status to suspend, it will stop that replication on the back end. And then when you do like a failover, then it will be switching the role to, like the other end, the destination.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things you can do with an existing. I'm just saying that The relationship is a declarative object that you can reconcile against.
Yeah, it will change, right? So like the status will change if we have doing those actions, and all of those will change. So it's not like fixed, right? So if you fail over, then your the status, primary secondary relationship will change, right? So then your previously this is the secondary, now they become primary, right? So relationship does not mean it has to be fixed forever, like this one way, because we always have, like in this example, we just have two sides, right? So you have like two CRs, right? One on the primary side, the other on the secondary side. So like this is like on the primary side, you have something like this. And then on the secondary side, it's the other way, right? It's kind of reversed. It looks like we only have 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, so yes, we can continue this next time. Are there?
Thank you, Xing. I have to drop.
Oh yeah, okay. I also need to drop. All right, thank you. Okay, bye-bye.